Hi, Teri here from Stamping Magic. Welcome back to my channel. Today's project is a shaker card. I used the lovely honeybee stamp set and coordinating dies. So let's get started. These are all the measurements you need for all the elements required to create this project. So if you are interested in reproducing it, you can take a screenshot and refer to it later. This is the honeybee stamp set, and today I'll just be using the two bee images and the thank you sentiment. I'm starting with the stamping, and I'll be doing the inside mat first of all. I've prepped the card with my embossing buddy, and then I'm going to place the larger bee first of all. Then I'll pick it up with my plate. I'm using Memento Tuxedo black ink for this, and I'm going to stamp it down twice so I get a really dark impression. I'm now going to clean off my stamp and ink it up again with Versamark ink, before covering with clear embossing powder and then melting this with my heat tool. I've turned my mat around, and I'm now going to stamp the smaller bee in what will be the top right corner. So again, I'm doing exactly as I did before. I'm using Memento Tuxedo black ink first, then cleaning off my stamp and re-inking with Versamark ink. Then I can cover with the clear powder and melt it with my heat tool. I'm going to use my Light and Dark Daffodil Delight Stamping Blends alcohol markers to colour the stripes on the bee. First of all, I'm going to give them a coat with the light Daffodil Delight, and then I'm just going to add a little of the dark at the start and the end of each stripe before blending with the light again, just to finish off. You will also need one extra large bee and 3 smaller bees stamped, and these should be stamped and coloured exactly as I've just shown you, and then they'll be cut out using the detailed bee dies. I've also stamped and embossed the sentiment in exactly the same way, and this I cut out using one of the dies from the Stitched Labels framelit set. I'm going to use my 1 1/8 of an inch scallop circle punch to punch out a mat from black card to go underneath the sentiment. Next, I'm going to use the honeycomb die in the set to cut my aperture, and I'm going to cut this twice. For the first cut, the die wants to be positioned towards the top, then tape it down with some washi and run it through. For the second cut, you want to align the die with the first aperture that you cut out, and the blades on the dies are in the middle, so you want to make sure the die is raised up just a little bit from that bottom edge on the aperture you've already cut. Tape it in position and then just flip it over and check that the hexagons you can see are aligned with the die. The top of them wants to be just under that cutting blade. And then the aperture is ready. You will want a piece of acetate or window sheet to cover your aperture, and this needs to be a little bit bigger than the aperture itself. Now cover the edges of the acetate with some tape adhesive, then remove the backing and position this on the reverse of the aperture piece. I'm going to attach some double-sided adhesive to a scrap piece of Daffodil Delight cardstock. Now, if you haven't got any of this, when you come to attach your honeycomb pieces, just use normal glue. This is by far the easiest and cleanest way of attaching an intricate die cut to a card or project. So once you've attached it, add your die on top, and you want to run it through twice. So you will have two of these honeycomb pieces that will fit inside your aperture, and these are positioned on the front, not the reverse. They will fit inside the aperture a bit like a jigsaw puzzle, but where they join they will overlap, so you will have to trim just a little bit away to get them to lie flat. Now I'm going to remove the backing to expose the adhesive and place the top piece first of all. Then before I stick the bottom piece into position, I'm going to trim away all the little pieces that overlap the top piece. Just so they slot together nicely. Then once I'm happy I've got everything, I can remove the backing again to expose the adhesive and slot it into place, and then give it a good press down. I'm now going to go all around the aperture with my foam strips, and this will create a little pool that will hold all the sequins. Now when you do this, you want to go as close to the aperture as you can. If you leave a wide gap, then you're going to need a lot more sequins to fill the pool. Make sure you don't leave any gaps when you join two strips together. You don't want any of the sequins to escape. Now I'm going to go round the rest of the card with the foam strips and build it up to the same level. So starting with my edges, I'm going to do those first of all, and then I can fill in all the other areas. And this is a great time to use up any scrap pieces that you might have. The sequins I'm going to use for this card are from our retired mini sequin trim in gold and black. Now these took forever to pull off, but it was worth it. I really wanted black and gold. I'm going to tip the sequins into the centre of the card, and then I can remove the backing from the foam strips. And once done, I can just place the panel over that Daffodil Delight panel, ensuring that there's an even border all the way round. I've gone ahead and added dimensionals onto the wings of the large bee and each of the smaller bees, and I've added tape adhesive to the back of the sentiment. I can now remove the backing from that adhesive. I have a length of Daffodil Delight ruched ribbon, and I'm just going to create a couple of loops with it behind my sentiment. Then I can trim off the excess, flip it over and add some more mini dimensionals to the reverse. Then I can remove the backings and position my sentiment onto my front panel. Before placing my bees, I'm just going to shape them slightly. So I'm pressing the body down and curving the wings around a little. This just helps with the dimension once they're on the card. And then I'm adding wet glue to the body, so the body will be flat on the card and the wings will be raised with the dimensionals. The smaller bees are really quite tiny, so it's hard to give them dimension other than with the foam pads, but you can give them a little curve in the wings. Again, these will be positioned using wet glue along their bodies. I'm using basic black as my card base, and this is just half a standard sheet of cardstock. And then I have a Daffodil Delight panel and my inside white panel. So I'm going to layer those two together, and then I can add them to the inside of my card base. I can then add my shaker panel to the front of the card base. And that's it, we're all done. The sequins are great inside this one, they shake really well. Now for my original card, I didn't use the same sequins. I used some hexagon and circle confetti together with some iridescent sequins that you can't really see. There must be so much static on those hexagons that they're clinging to the acetate sheet. But it's still lovely, it's still very sparkly. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this project. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe and hit that notifications bell so you don't miss out on any future videos. Bye for now.